Gino, baby. Start
Hey,
the
everyone.
noise.
Hey, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good to see everyone. So we got a lot to cover. How many of you do professional or frequent public speaking, either on Zoom now or live? Perfect. Okay. So I'm gonna condense my 18-minute TED Talk down into a couple minutes, and then I'm going to say a few words about vitamin D, because it's probably the most important thing you can do in the age of COVID, other than have a vaccine, depending on your feelings about that. So there are 7 things that the greatest public speakers in the world do, and it's a book that I wrote on Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, and other great speakers of the 20th century. The first thing is to learn how to tell a story. And you'll notice that people who engage you tell stories in a completely different way than people who don't engage you. And to tell a story effectively, you need to do 3 things. One is you need to do it in the present tense. So I walk into the room and I look at this beautiful woman and I, say so-and-so, as opposed to doing that in the past tense. The second thing is you have to have lots and lots of detail, right? That makes it interesting. But even more important than those 2 are you want to add tremendous amounts of conversation, right? Instead of, and I spoke to her and we talked about whatever it says, and I say to her, "You are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in my life." And she looks up and quite surprised, and she says, "Oh my goodness," right? So it sucks you in if you make it present tense, you pull in a lot of detail, and you make it conversational and add the conversation. So secret number 1 of the 7 secrets is they know how to use words. Secret number 2 is they know how to use their voice. Voice tone actually communicates 38% of the impact that you create in your speaking or in any sort of communication, 38%. And is you want to do what the great singers do. If you listen to Adele, she is a master of this. If you listen to Martin Luther King, the musicality of his public speaking. Number 1 is you want to sometimes be loud, and when it's even more important, you want to be soft. I believe Hillary Clinton lost the election because she didn't know how to speak softly. And there's a lot of other people who hurt themselves because they don't create that variation. Number 2, sometimes you want to go fast. There's this. If you have a long list of things, go fast. But on the thing that is the most important, you want to slow down and you want to punctuate. And that you want to change your voice tone. Sorry about my voice, pretty ironic. Sometimes you want to be high, like, this is so important. And other times you want to be like Morgan Freeman and you want to be slow and deep and low. It's this is even more important. And then the 2 other things with voice tone is you want to have punctuation. This is absolutely critical, as opposed to this is absolutely critical. And you want to put pauses in it. Notice this. I have a dream that one day, pause, that one day, pause. If you took the punctuation and the pauses out of Dr. Martin Luther King's speeches, they would still be fantastic, but they wouldn't be anywhere near as compelling. Secret number 3 is body language. And I think the biggest thing about body language is to undo the old idea, which is that you were to look over the heads of the people in your audience. You were to diminish them. You were to imagine them being naked or not there at all so that you wouldn't be nervous. That is the complete opposite approach. The most important part of body language, in addition to holding your shoulder up and gesturing appropriately, gesturing down as opposed to up, for example, if you want to create gravitas, the most important thing is to make eye contact with every single person in the room. To the extent that you can do that on Zoom, you can do that as well. So eye contact as opposed to that old idea of look over the heads of the people in the audience. Number 4 is what I call the laser compelling message, right? If you look at I Have a Dream, where the only thing to fear is fear itself, or ask not what your country can do for you, those are examples of laser compelling messages. In other words, you can have a gazillion things that you want to talk about. What's the theme? What's the core thing that holds everything together? And that is going to be the thing that attracts people. So what is the thing that is most compelling for you and for the audience? That should be your laser compelling message. Secret number 5, and this is, how many of you are a little nervous if you have to give a speech? Raise your hand. Well, maybe not the metal group as much, but it's 41% of people cross-culturally are significantly afraid of public speaking. And there are a lot of reasons for that. It goes all the way back to our childhood and our need to be accepted as part of our society and our social group. Otherwise, literally, we die. That's the biology of human beings. It takes us, 15, 18 years to be able to be on our own, and we don't want to be rejected. And so I've had so many CEOs and politicians be almost deathly nervous. And it goes back to this core subconscious programming that literally relates to our fear of dying, of not being taken care of. But the best way to overcome your fear, in addition to maybe addressing that issue on a deeper level, is to create your communication in a public speaking context, not as a performance at an audience. That's where you're being an actor and you're not being fully yourself. You're performing at an audience, and that's where I see a lot of people make big mistakes. The second level is to have a presentation to the audience. That's where most business people go. They've got their PowerPoint.
My bike in my car,
it's all about
to Pasadena area.
Somebody else, can you guys mute, please? It's all about the presentation of data. You're presenting to an audience, and we know how boring that can be after a short period of time. But the way, if you look at a Ronald Reagan or a Bill Clinton or an FDR, he didn't have a fireside performance or a fireside presentation. What did he have? He had a fireside chat. So the way of communicating, the essence of how you're actually interacting with your audience is to have a conversation with. It's a circle. You're going to make eye contact with every single person in that audience that you possibly can. And I learned that in large part from being Tony Robbins' lawyer at the very beginning of his career. And literally, he would have 10,000 people, and I would hear them talking afterwards, and they would all say, "Oh my God, he was talking exactly to me. He was personally connecting with me," which is pretty darn good if you're talking to 10 or 12,000 people. That's secret number 5. Secret number 6 is based on the science of neuro-linguistic programming. There are 4 different kinds of human beings, 4 different communication languages. One is visual, which is high energy. Think Robin Williams, very fast, high frequency of your voice, moving quickly, moving through things quickly, like I'm doing now. That's visual. That's going to be attractive to about a quarter of your audience. Then there's going to be auditory, which is, what's the sound of your voice? Do you have good voice tone? Are you making it conversational? Is it easy to understand? Auditory people value communication and talking in sounds. And you're going to move a little slower, and you're going to have a warmer connection with your voice. The third category is auditory digital. This is the Bill Gates, the Steve Jobs, the Stephen Hawking, the Albert Einstein. This is the data, the foundational content, which you have to have. Of course, people won't take you seriously, especially people who are themselves what? Primarily auditory digital, okay? But that's not a very inspiring part. You need to incorporate the other 3. And the most important of the 4 languages of communication is what we call kinesthetic. It's the tasting, touching, smelling, feeling, connecting part. That's where Bill Clinton was so good. I feel your pain. That's why we love Morgan Freeman and his voice tone, or James Earl Jones. It's slow, it's connected, it's heart-centered, and really people feel like you're right there for them and with them. The 7th secret is the most important of all of them, and that is authenticity. And what I would say is authentic passion. You have to absolutely be excited, even about something, the most potentially boring PowerPoint in the history of the world. You've got to find something on every single point of those PowerPoints, every single point that you're communicating, that to you is SFC, so fucking cool. And that's the key, to be able to take something that might otherwise be boring or mundane and turn it into something that's super passionate. So those are the 7 secrets. If you do a little bit more of either one of them. So number 1, use your words more effectively. Tell great stories that are present tense, that have a lot of detail and a lot of conversation. Number 2, have a lot of variation in your voice tone. Sometimes loud, sometimes soft, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes high pitch, sometimes low pitch. So you don't cause people to go into a hypnotic state because you're monitoring. Number 3, the body language. The most important body language is your connection, your eye-to-eye, window of the soul connection to the people in your audience. Number 4 is have a laser compelling message. What's the freaking headline of what you're talking about? That's what you should start with, and that's where you should go. For the rest of your speech, weave it back in. Number 5 is don't have a performance at or a presentation. 2, have a conversation from your heart with everyone in the audience. Number 6, I want you to hit all 4 communication languages so everyone in your audience is going to feel engaged. So that's visual, high energy, auditory, more conversational, auditory, digital, lots of data and detail. You can show your expertise there, the guts of it, and then kinesthetic, tasting, touching, smelling, feeling, that connection that you have. And the most important thing is only talk about at every moment of whenever you're speaking is what is SFC, what is so fucking cool to you. So I'll take some questions. I just wanted to share that for the last 5 months, I've done a deep dive into vitamin D because I love holistic health. Probably 90% of naturally dark skinned African American, if you don't get out in the sun at all, or you wear lots of sunblock, probably 90% of people in this group have vitamin D, at least insufficiency, if not flat out deficiency. If your levels are below 40, if you get them checked, which I recommend, if they're below 40, you do not have enough vitamin D to activate the innate immune system, which has evolved over 750 million years from invertebrates to vertebrates, and now, of course, to human beings. Vitamin D is not a vitamin. It is a hormone that literally activates 2,000 genes in your body. You cannot be healthy. You cannot be optimally healthy unless your vitamin D level is at least at a 40. Mine is at a 77, and I actually partnered up with a professor at UCLA and a vitamin D research group, and the biggest wholesaler of vitamins in the world, something called Emerson Ecologics. And you guys can get a 15% discount if you just go bit.ly/take vitamin D. bit.ly/take vitamin D. We have, thanks guys for being here.
Richard?
Yeah.
I have a question. Thank you so much. Amazingly precise and condensed and passionate presentation.
Thank you.
Reflect. Thank you. So apart from taking vitamin D, which is obviously a passion of yours, how would you best prepare to incorporate these kind of 7 ingredients or secrets into, before a presentation? And is there a particular way that you can? Because there's a lot going on here, and how do you integrate it all? And
it's real simple. Yes, take at least 5,000 IU of vitamin D, or get yourself tested so you can get the precise amount. But the core is to start at the last thing that I said, which is authentic passion, which is what is it that you are passionate about? And then even more important, and I'm so glad you asked, the key thing that makes great speakers and also allows you not to be fearful is you're not doing it selfishly for yourself. Why in the world are you sharing this information? Why are you taking your time? Why are you taking the time of the people? What is it that you want to give as a gift to the people in your audience that they might not know, that if they just knew this, if they just had a different perspective, if they just got a sense of inspiration from you, it would actually help their lives. That's where you start, and everything else flows from that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. I love that accent, James.
Richard, I got a question for you, brother.
Yes, I can.
You mentioned NLP. You mentioned the subconscious. The guys who are you're a guest, but I do the mental mind mastery for the guys. I've been at this for 25 years. I would love to hear your background in that stuff, because it sounds like you really got a thing. And as both of us know from the smile on your face, it's so effective for helping people. So give me your background and how you use it as a speech coach.
Yeah, real quick. I was a lawyer. I wanted to be a congressman. That was my dream. I practiced for 5 years, and then I went to the very first seminar that Anthony Robbins gave in his entire life in the United States in 1983. I walked up to him. I said, dude, I don't think I said dude. I used that word then. I said, you are one of the best communicators I've ever. I'm a lawyer in town. I think you're going to go on and make a huge contribution to the world, and I want to help you do it. And so he ended up moving into my law office suite. We would stay up till 2 or 3 every morning brainstorming, which means you listen a lot more than you talk when you're with Tony Robbins. I know Ken Ravel knows Tony, and I'm sure some of you do as well. And I go, this stuff is so much more fun than practicing law. And so I decided to take that and apply what I was learning from Tony to a very specific area of public speaking, because as someone who wanted to be a politician, that was a great interest of mine. And then went through a master's degree in spiritual psychology. And just, I'm 67, and I just love to keep learning and integrating everything. And I've done 53 coached presidents, prime ministers, and whatever in 53 countries around the world.
Very cool, man. Are you going to join Metal?
Well, I've been part of Metal, and then I lapsed, but I will come back in, and I would love to spend some time with you.
That was a great job, by the way. You did a super job. Thank you.
Can you put your contact information in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. Just Richard at wordsthatshooktheworld.com. Richard at wordsthatshooktheworld.com. And thank you. You guys are inspiring.
Richard, it's great to see you here, brother.
Oh my God, Greg, love you, man. I've known you for what?
35 more years. In the early 80s we met, right? So great to be with you. Thank you.
No, we're going to lose any other last questions about the public speaking or about vitamin D.
You've got
How many
are you?
Well, the best thing would be to get a test. And you want your level to be at least 60, in my opinion. But I would suggest as a safe thing, 5,000, at least 5,000 IU a day. By the way, if you're taking even 4,000 a day, it would take you 30 years to consume 1 gram of vitamin D. That is how incredibly powerful this tiny, tiny, tiny substance is for the workings of our body.
You've
Richard,
got
another
great,
question.
great
What
flow.
would be your most favourite speech and words that shook the world? Do you have a favourite go-to that applies to you?
I'm sorry to say that's not a hard question. I think the "I Have a Dream" speech is awesome, and it was ad-lib. The second half of that speech was ad-lib. People don't know it. That was either the first. Actually, is a hard question. That's either the first or the second, and the other one was, "I've been to the mountains